Welcome to The Trend. I'm Rebecca Granite. Well, he is the highly sought-after clairvoyant medium whose hit show, Hollywood Medium with Tyler Henry, is about to enter its 4th season on E! Tonight at 8 p.m. And I am so excited to welcome back friend to the show, Tyler Henry.
Hello.
Tyler, it is my favorite day when I get to see you. I'm so happy to have you back.
Likewise, I love the show and I always love coming on, so it's good to see you again.
You're the best. Your life has been so busy. The last time that I saw you, you were filming season 4.
That's right.
So tell me like how it has all been since, what's going to be different on this season and how you're handling it all.
Well, this season's so different than the other seasons. Obviously, we have the celebrity readings, Sofia Vergara, Howie Mandel, Rebel Wilson, but you'll actually see a lot more behind the scenes this season. You'll see me get a brain scan conducted by a doctor and a scientist. And there's just so many kind of interesting moments where you kind of see how the process affects me personally.
Yeah.
So for those who are curious about the phenomenon, how it works, and really seeing it unedited, there's a lot more of that this season.
So Dr. Drew did do this brain scan on you.
Yes.
What was that process like for you, and were you surprised with what you saw?
You know, I really wasn't expecting anything. I had no idea what was going to show. I thought, you know, maybe it's a soul thing, maybe it's a brain thing. I wasn't really sure, but he was really interested in seeing the physiology behind how I do what I do, and so he selected a client and didn't tell me, kept it secret. And they went through this whole process. They hooked me up to a neurofeedback machine and were monitoring my brain waves as I was doing the reading. And essentially, my brain looked like it was asleep on some level. The brain waves weren't really making sense to them, and you'll get kind of the full explanation on the show, but there were a lot of questions that it presented, and I want more answers, so we're going to follow up.
Oh, okay, that's
Yeah.
okay. You know what's interesting is when you say that is because something that I remember from the first time that you were here is you said it's more of a subtractive process than an additive one when you want to connect with your loved ones.
Absolutely.
And so when you say, I don't know if that's even related, but when you say that your brain was more so coming across as it was asleep,
Absolutely.
it kind of makes me think that that is in line with what you were saying.
Definitely. It's that shift in consciousness, I think, going from a more conscientious, maybe wake state to maybe tapping into a more subconscious state.
Huh. Interesting. You also mentioned Rebel Wilson. That was a big reading that you had. And something that I thought was interesting, without giving away too much, was that you had mentioned that Rebel was very important to you in your life. Mm-hmm. So what was that like for you to kind of, you know, because a lot of times you don't know the people that you're reading.
Sure.
So when you kind of, she meant something to you.
Absolutely.
So what was that like to be able to read her and to meet her?
Yeah, well, it was really just an amazing experience because obviously I never know where I'm going or who I'm reading. So when Rebel Wilson opened the door, I was like, you live in the United States?
Right?
This is confusing.
Where am I?
Yeah, so it was really surreal. Like, what was so interesting, what I always find, especially with comedians, is that, you know, you think of comedians, think of them as being funny and making jokes, but on their personal lives, they're often much more reserved and shy. And so it was really interesting from her perspective to kind of see that shift and kind of see that more emotional side of Rebel that people don't see in Bridesmaids or her recent film.
Right?
So, yeah.
You know what else too is that, you know, your life over the course of these last few years has really changed a lot. I mean, having the show and being so recognized nationally and internationally. I mean, how have you been handling all of that? What kind of adjustments have you had to make in settling into this new world?
You know, it's been a big adjustment. I never really had aspirations to be on television or to gain, I guess, a sense of notoriety. And so it's just been really a massive adjustment. I will go to the supermarket and sometimes I'll have people stop me and they'll just cry. And I've kind of had to adjust to that and being able to deal with the emotional intensity, because it's one thing to recognize an actor or your favorite singer, but when people recognize me, sometimes they kind of liken it to a connection with their loved ones. So there's kind of that emotional intensity, and that has definitely been something to adjust to. But I'm used to it now.
Yeah, I think that's so interesting. Is I think maybe when people see you, they either have a heightened expectation or they have that feeling of like they really know you or they really want to know you from, you know, and I think that sort of sets you apart from others. So I think that's fascinating to have to deal with that all the time.
Yeah, definitely. It's never a dull moment. In fact, I was just at the airport when I came here, and I was sitting there, and a security officer came up to me, and I thought, oh no, what'd I do? What was in my bag?
What's wrong?
But she looked at me, and she's like, sir, I lost my cat. And I'm like, excuse me? She's like, I lost my... Tears were welling in her eyes, and I'm like, I'm so sorry. I'm like, is the cat missing or did the cat die? Either way, I could probably help you, but it was just a very awkward interaction. So there's a lot of intensity there with emotion, and you know, I just kind of listen to people, and you never know when it's going to happen.
You were able to give that time to her?
Yeah, I talked to her through it, and we chatted a little bit, but yeah, in an airport, not much is going to come through. So.
Yeah, and you know what's interesting? You mentioned this is kind of a good segue. Is that I was thinking about how all the time, like, you know, I guess people get surprised by the readings in some way. I mean, usually they know it's coming,
Sure.
but they're surprised by kind of what comes through. Are you, because you're always so in control. Like, are you ever surprised by what comes through, or is there a reading that you can think of that you're like, wow, I didn't think it was going to go in that direction?
Well, I'm glad that you think I'm in control, because in those situations it feels like the exact opposite. Because it's, really for me it's very much an interpretive process. So I have to be able to relay all of these feelings and sensations and turn them into a message. So for me, when it makes sense, I guess I'm not surprised. It's just more seeing that validation and seeing how it affects that person. That to me can be really shocking. And
yeah.
So sometimes I'm like, wow, that was a trip.
Was there one when you look back on this season that maybe was more surprising to you than others, or one that sticks out?
Yeah, there's so many. Every reading, I always say, kind of has like a nugget, one of those big, huge validations. But my reading with Rebel Wilson was really profound in the sense that it actually kind of turned a medical direction. I distinctly was picking up on a medical issue that I felt her mother had to be aware of, and her mom was 7,000 miles away. So I was like, let's get mom on the phone. We need to figure this out, because it was a very specific organ and a very specific issue. And so she called her mom. She's like, here's Tyler. And I relayed the issue. And Rebel Wilson's mom lost it because she had dealt with that exact medical problem the night before, hadn't told Rebel, and so it was her first time hearing this. And everyone had the chills. So it goes to show it's not limited to physicality. This woman was 7,000 miles away, and there was still a message for her. So it was really cool.
How do you, because you are a clairvoyant medium and you also are medical intuitive, how do you separate? So, like if somebody comes to you and says, oh, I want to connect with a loved one.
Sure.
Maybe you're getting a medical feeling. Or
right.
How does that?
It can be tricky to kind of use that discernment, and I think that's kind of the fundamental of intuition, knowing and being able to identify what information is most relevant and most needed. I believe that when I sit down with people, whatever comes through, be it mediumship or health information, it's what that person's needing to hear. So there's times where people will come wanting to connect to a loved one, and I'll sit them down and I'll say, you know what, we've got to talk about your love life. And sometimes that happens. So I always tell clients to kind of manage expectation, because they're going to hear what they need to hear versus maybe what they want to hear.
Okay, so Tyler, we have to talk about my love life.
Yes, I love it.
Let's get into it. Well, actually,
yes.
And it's funny you should say. So Chris Harrison
yes.
is on this season.
That's right.
And I nearly freaked out when I saw that, because that's the intersection of my two favorite people in life is you and watching The Bachelor. So for me, when I saw Chris Harrison, I was like, oh my gosh, this is just too much. This is amazing. What was that experience like with him?
Well, it was funny because I don't watch The Bachelor, so
okay.
I had no idea.
I'll catch you up.
Oh God, I felt so awkward, and I hope I didn't offend him, but I had no idea who he was. He was really lovely, but he was a total skeptic going into it.
Yeah.
So I definitely had to prove myself, and in that reading, it was really interesting because his aunt came through on his mom's side, and he had a validation from a mentor in his life that actually passed away in a way that no one has ever passed away of on the show. So it was a really specific, unique cause of death, and this individual came through, explained how it happened. It was very bizarre, and it really validated to Chris that there was a connection being made there, and I think it really changed him. I saw that transformation throughout that reading, and it was really cool. I felt by the end of it like I was sitting with a friend.
Yeah, that's so sweet. Well, you're easy to strike up a friendship with. You're very sweet that way. So my family's been joking with me about this for quite some time, that I might end up on The Bachelor one day.
Do I foresee it?
Yeah,
Let's
Tyler.
See. Let's see.
Am I going to find love another way, or is this the way?
Let's see. Well, I got a dial tone. I don't know what's going on. They're not picking up. What's going on?
Does this mean I'm never going to find love?
I'm going to have to grab a magic 8-ball. We'll shake it. We'll give it a good shake and see what it says.
This is too funny. Yeah,
You're definitely going to find love. You are a catch.
Oh, you're such a sweetheart. Thank you so much. Now I'm scared, but whatever.
You're good.
You got me scared. All right, so let me talk about, though, how you, I'm so curious to know, like, how you, quiet the different spirits that might come through. So if you're, like, we see you in your live shows, which are so remarkable, and you do these readings and you call these people out. Like, if there's multiple people coming through, is there a way to channel one? Like, how does that process look from your perspective when there's multiple competing, like,
It's a lot. It's really just a series of conflicting physical feelings, emotional feelings, mental images, physical sensations, noises, smells, tastes. All of that can come through. I always say the sixth sense uses the other five senses to communicate. So in an audience of 2,000 to 5,000 people, you have so many people there, obviously, plus all their loved ones who they've lost. And I really have to be able to be specific, because if you're in an audience and you're like, I'm getting a J name with a lung cancer, I mean, everybody's going to stand up. So I have to really be able to tune in and kind of ignore all of the crowd and the stage fright, and really tune in on a much deeper level than I do even on one-on-one readings. And I usually get a pull in a certain direction of the audience, and that usually kind of helps guide me based on where I'm going.
Wow. Does it surprise? Like, when the spirit comes through, is there something that it's like that makes it seem more stronger than the other feelings?
Definitely. I'll pick up on traumas first, and it's kind of interesting. I always say, like, if someone passes away in a car accident, I believe they're more inclined to come through than someone's grandma who passed of cancer peacefully. I actually tend to connect to traumatic passings more, usually just because where there's most of a need for a message or closure or healing. So typically it kind of starts off on a heavy note, and then usually by the end of the reading I'm connecting to everyone's Aunt Ethel and Grandma and bringing through all the stuff. But yeah,
oh my gosh.
it's the first readings in a live show are always the hardest, just because they're usually the most traumatic.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Now, for you, we talked about this on the first time that you came on the show, and I wonder if it has changed since. And it being the fact that you have done so many readings, how do you, what is the message that you feel is the most enduring, or the one that we all should really know about the afterlife or connecting?
Sure.
And has that maybe changed over the years for you now that you've done more?
Yeah, I've had so many insights into not only just the other side, but the human condition in reading, celebrities and everyday people, and being able to see the range of that. And I think, if anything, the biggest lesson I've learned is the importance of validating our loved ones in the here and the now, and communicating in the here and the now. So many people come to me with regret. They wish they could have said something, or something went unsaid. And I think it's just important that we're true to ourselves. The more self-aware we are, the more we're going to be able to communicate with those in our lives. So I feel like it's all connected, and we should strive to really just say it now, and say it while we still can, because you never know when your loved ones are going to pass. And I wish that everyone were able to verbalize and validate their loved ones when they're still alive, so they wouldn't have to come to me, to connect. And
We need to leave you alone a little bit.
Well, a life well lived
Right.
is not harmed by death. So I think that's important.
I like that. So Tyler, we usually do the 10 for 10 here.
Yes.
But since you're my special buddy, we're not going to do that with you again.
All right.
Instead, we're going to do a fun game. And I thought, in honor of the fact that we see more behind the scenes in your season this year, more behind the scenes of you and your life, that we would do a behind the scenes of your phone.
Okay. All right. I'm ready.
So okay. So we're going to do a few questions of your last blank.
I'm ready. I'm ready.
Well, this is not your last, but your favorite app.
Favorite app? Probably the Maps app, because I feel like without it, I wouldn't get anywhere. And Google Maps doesn't work as well. And I feel like the app for Apple is the best.
Okay.
Yep.
I'll take that. What about the last text you sent?
Last text was to my mother.
Okay.
Yeah, and I was telling her to wake me up this morning, so shows how adventurous my life is.
What about the last text you received?
Last text I received? My boyfriend. He said good night.
Aw, how's he doing?
He's doing good. I need to text him back. Good morning.
Yeah, good morning.
Right.
My mom woke me up. This is all good.
Exactly.
What about your most used emoji?
Most used emoji? Probably the sparkle emoji. For some reason, I just like it. I feel like it's conducive with what I do.
It kind of looks like your logo, your show logo.
It's on brand.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
And ours too.
Exactly. That's why it's my favorite.
Oh, there we go. What about the last picture you took?
Last picture I took last night with my mom and Andy Cohen. I went on Watch What Happens Live and was bartending.
You were bartending.
It was cool, yeah.
That was awesome.
It was fun.
How about the last thing in your search history?
Last thing in my search history, Domino's, which is
Pizza
embarrassing because I'm in New York. Yes.
Okay.
The pizza. I was hard up for a Domino's.
Oh,
and it's horrible. I know I'm in New York. It's like blasphemy. I shouldn't be getting New York pizza, but yeah, admittedly.
Okay.
It was Domino's.
We'll
I'm going
let
to
it
expand my
pass.
horizons.
We'll teach you some other places too.
Exactly.
We're an all-inclusive pizza family here.
Yes.
What about the favorite text that you've ever received from a celebrity?
Oh my gosh. The Rock Johnson the other day, actually.
Okay.
I read his girlfriend or wife a couple of years ago, and he actually sent me a message and was explaining that I had read her and that it changed their lives, and that he wanted to shake my hand, and I was like, oh my God, this is The Rock. What's happening?
gosh.
So that was pretty cool.
Do you think you'd ever do a reading on him at some point?
I would love that. That'd be amazing. It's just, sometimes people want to do it publicly and other times not. So.
Yeah, time and place kind of a thing.
Exactly.
No, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Oh, Tyler, you're just so fantastic.
Oh, Rebecca.
You better come back again.
You
I'm
know.
going to miss you.
Likewise.
So, thank you. Remind everybody that Hollywood Medium with Tyler Henry, Season 4 on E! Tonight at 8 p.m. and then every Thursday. Thank you, Tyler, so much for being here.
Of course, as always.